Next, we'll talk about a journey to the West. After that, His Holiness gave everyone the oral transmission of the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas. At this moment, His Holiness said, to sum up all the essentials of the Buddha Dharma, it is the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas. Anyone who sees, hears, recites, or practices this teaching will be free of illness, gain longevity, abundant possessions, and far-reaching fame, and whatever they wish in this life will be fulfilled. When this life comes to an end, they will easily be born in the pure land of Sukhavati, be free from any physical or mental suffering, and solely enjoy unfathomable peace and bliss. Regarding the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas, His Holiness spoke about its merit on another occasion as well. I've already taught it many times, and they've compiled different versions. The most extensive one should be what we taught last year. Last year in 2022, I taught from April through the end of July, a total of 53 classes on the commentary of the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas. They say it's been compiled now, so this is probably the most extensive teaching on the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas I've given in my lifetime. It was mainly based on the commentary. We hope that with the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas, everyone can reflect on what His Holiness said. Think about it yourself. Don't think this was taught by His Holiness to Americans. Apply all these teachings to yourself. Think of them as being taught to you. Only then will it be meaningful. I believe what you truly want is peace and happiness in this and all future lifetimes, no longer experiencing any suffering. The primary goal of my journey to the West is to try to see if there's a way to help more beings relieve their suffering and obtain happiness. We do have the same aspiration. His Holiness said, I will use Tibetan to give you the oral transmission of the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas. I originally wanted to give the oral transmission, but due to time constraints, let's wait for another day. This is also to fulfill this aspiration. At that time, His Holiness recited the transmission in Tibetan. If you listen with devotion, even if you don't understand its meaning, simply hearing its words will bring you immeasurable benefit. We often listen to it once a year, or you can also recite it regularly yourself. Now we have the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas in Chinese. If you have it, recite it once a month yourself. We've talked about this before. When we taught it, everyone thought, wow, the merit of the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas is immense. But except for those with good memory, many people forgot about it again. Ever since the flourishing of the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas in Tibetan areas, whether it's Nyingma, Kagyu, Kadam, Jonang, or Sakya, all schools have been practicing it without any distinction. In Tibetan areas, this is widely recognized. Although different schools and traditions have different contents in their studies and rituals, they're not all the same. This teaching is universally accepted. What is the key feature of this teaching? It encompasses all the essential practices of the Buddha and his followers, including all lineage holders in India, Tibet, and other regions. What is its core and ultimate intent? It's mainly to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to refrain from harming any sentient being. These are all pith instructions. All these teachings, when it comes down to it, are about cultivating compassion and not harming sentient beings. The pith instructions for our practice are actually abundant here. Every single word of His Holiness contains many pith instructions. You should also write these down yourselves. This is very important. If you comprehend and grasp the meaning of this text, it would be more than enough. If not, you may invite other lamas to explain its meaning to you. It seems that many great masters abroad have spread the 37 precepts of the Bodhisattvas very successfully. It's been translated into various languages. I am joining my palms in front of my heart to pray that all of you can practice this teaching. His Holiness is joining his palms to request this of everyone. This teaching is very important. Just like Shantideva, who joined his palms and said, "Those of you who wish to tame your minds must practice mindfulness and vigilance." I made a garment. Today I deliberately showed it off again by putting it on. The other day I thought, no one will see it, should I wear it or not? Fortunately, some people came today, so I put it on. What I'm wearing underneath is also from that year, the clothes I brought from Hong Kong. This was mentioned at the beginning of A Journey to the West, so today I wore it as an auspicious sign. Nowadays, many live stream sellers often try things on themselves. Wearing it like this looks great. This is really nice. Look at this. If I kept talking like this every day. So I also want to make sure everyone doesn't get too tired. Sometimes I do this, like playing a game. I made a garment. Every time I traveled with His Holiness, it was entirely different from my traveling alone. Whether it was clothes or other luggage, I took as few personal belongings as I could. So when we came to the US this time, I brought very little. It was quite cold in the morning and evening, but during the day the sunlight was very intense. I felt I really needed a coat. At that time, since it seemed like summer in the US, I didn't dare bring too many things. Actually, looking back, I remember I brought very few things. However, the US was different from India and Nepal. It was difficult to buy monastic clothes there. One afternoon, when I had some free time, I went to nearby cities around Boulder, but after going around for a long time, I couldn't find clothes particularly suitable for monastics. With no other choice, I decided to buy a piece of cloth and have someone make one, but saffron fabric was almost nowhere to be found in the US either. Actually, even now in the Han region, except at Wuhu Temple, it's hard to find fabric that we monastics can wear. With great difficulty, I bought a piece, and I took it to a tailor's shop. But the tailor said he had never made anything like this, so he couldn't do it. Luckily, I had made some clothes myself before, so right there I borrowed his scissors and cut the fabric. I cut it myself and taught him how to sew it. Soon it was finished. The garment fitted me very well, and the size was quite suitable. With this garment, throughout every stop on our journey after that, it served its purpose quite well. I've always had the habit of giving away some of my extra clothes to others, but after returning from abroad, I was kind of reluctant to part with this garment. To this day, every time I go out, I often wear it. The fabric of this garment is quite good quality. Look here. There are some small spots in this area, but everything else, although it's been 30 years, the color has barely faded. I don't know how you see it, but from where I am, there's just a slightly lighter gray color. No fading. Its shape hasn't shrunk or deformed either. It's just that I've gained a little bit of weight compared to 30 years ago. Fortunately, after my surgery this year, I'm now about the same as I was 30 years ago. You see, I'm still quite... The garment is a bit snug, but I can still wear it. Of course, this personal matter compared to the Guru and the Dharma is insignificant and not worth mentioning at all. But as I wrote up to this point, this incident came to mind, because I always think of Boulder, and later with this garment. His Holiness gave many empowerments and taught many Dharma teachings at that time, so I've been reluctant to discard it. So every time I see this garment, I think of Boulder, so there's nothing to be concerned about. Whatever others say is fine, it doesn't matter. When I thought of this, I began to write it down. So today I also wore it as an auspicious sign. I put it on, but it's a bit warm today, so I'll take it off now. This garment from that year, still wearable. Next is Farewell to Vajradhatu in Boulder. On June 28th, His Holiness met the managing members of Vajradhatu as well as great masters from other Dharma centers and gave them teachings and blessings. Among those His Holiness met was Tsega Kongtsul Rinpoche. Earlier we had visited his Dharma center where teachings on pointing out the nature of mind were given. At that time, some of the great masters and members from Vajradhatu held such a reception that day. June 29th was the last day in Boulder. As His Holiness was preparing to say farewell, he said these words to everyone. More unique than other places, Boulder can be called the second land of Shambhala. Having arrived in this Shambhala and shared the Dharma teachings with each of you, I consider it a truly auspicious connection. This trip brings me immense joy. When I was in the land of Tibet, I was hoping to have the opportunity to come to the US. Later, it is through the kindness of His Holiness Penor Rinpoche residing in India, and Gyattrul Rinpoche and Gyangda Rinpoche in the US, and the warm-hearted assistance of these great masters, as well as the favorable conditions created by these Dharma centers, that my trip to the West was made possible. When I heard that there is a Dharma center called Vajradhatu, my heart was immediately filled with great joy. I am not lying about that. So I feel that I have a deep connection with this Dharma center that was formed in our previous lifetimes. When His Holiness was in Tibet, in his invitation letter, there were names of various Dharma centers listed below. As I mentioned earlier, some people secretly sought His Holiness's guidance. During one of these requests, there was Vajradhatu. At that time, the signature at the bottom was Vajradhatu, and His Holiness repeatedly asked what that Dharma center was called. Vajradhatu. Later I realized that perhaps at that time His Holiness had some particularly special perceptions. I remembered this name quite well, Vajradhatu. Actually, Vajradhatu is Benzadhatu, because Vajra is Benza, but His Holiness kept saying Vajra, Vajra. The Americans also said Vajradhatu, so this time I didn't change it. Originally, Vajradhatu means the realm of Vajra. Vajra is sometimes Dorje. Dorje is Benza, Benzadhatu. But in Tang dynasty translations, it's sometimes Vajra. There are also cases where Benza is called Vajra, so they call it Vajradhatu. His Holiness, at the very beginning, kept saying Vajradhatu, Vajradhatu several times. Perhaps at that time he was filled with this kind of joy. I am not lying about that, so I feel I have a connection with this Dharma center from past lives. I truly appreciate your invitation letter, which turned out to play a crucial role in helping me communicate effectively with the Chinese and American embassies and relevant departments. It seems that China-US relations are improving again now. When we went to the US originally, I asked about China-US relations. They said, "We can't really explain this clearly, it's very subtle. Sometimes together, sometimes apart, very subtle." So at that time it was subtle, and now it's also subtle. While speaking of faults, they unite. I don't know. We can't really tell. You did a lot to invite me here and also sponsored the airline tickets, as well as all kinds of expenses, including food and accommodation. At that time, the tickets for His Holiness and us were indeed provided by various centers, including food and lodging costs. Looking at it now, providing airplane tickets isn't that much, but at that time, if we had to pay for them ourselves, His Holiness might not have been able to afford it. His Holiness specifically expressed gratitude at several Dharma centers, but later at some of our Dharma centers, we didn't use all of it, so we expressed our thanks. I saw at that time that those Dharma centers weren't having it easy either. Although they were Dharma centers in very wealthy countries, they still had their challenges. So later, when traveling domestically or abroad, I didn't let the centers pay. I went completely at my own expense. Every time I went out, later when I had the means, I paid for myself. At that time, His Holiness also thanked them. I've caused you a lot of trouble. For all your kind assistance, I hold sincere and deep gratitude in my heart. To conclude my words, I hope that we will be able to meet again in this present life. If for any reason we are unable to meet in this life, let us aspire to be reborn in Sukhavati in the west or Shambhala in the north, so that we may reunite in the next life. These were His Holiness's final words to this Dharma center. Actually, when you're studying together or reading casually, because I don't read well, I'm an outsider reading your language without expression. If this were read with better expression, perhaps there would be some feeling. When I read my own words, I myself feel particularly disappointed. But I have to read it anyway, there's no other way now. So when you're doing group study and discussion, first have 1 or 2 people then, like we did last year, have 2 people discuss the latter part together, about 10 to 20 minutes, right? 25 minutes is also fine. Adding another 5 minutes shouldn't be a problem. In this way, for the first 10 minutes, 1 or 2 people speak. For the latter 10 minutes, 2 people at a time. This way everyone has a chance to speak, so no one falls asleep. Everyone has the opportunity to turn the Dharma wheel. So I think during discussion sessions, whether at the beginning or in pairs, first have 1 or 2 people from the large group speak, then have people discuss face-to-face in pairs. Taking turns speaking for about 5 minutes each is also good, or when necessary some of His Holiness's teachings here. If you read them yourselves, you might might feel something. I don't read well. I can't even move myself. After His Holiness finished his talk, Khenpo Namdrol summarized the Dharma activities and said the following. Over the past few days, His Holiness gave many supreme and precious teachings, and I am sure that we all have greatly benefited. I am a Khenpo at Kagyu Nyingma Institute of Namdroling Dharma Monastery in southern India. In order to improve the overall quality of our students in learning and practicing the Dharma, I went to Larunga 3 times. Khenpo Namdrol went in the 80s in 1990 and also before 1993. He said he went 3 times. I received teachings of sutras and tantras from Khenpo Rinpoche. At that time, Namdroling Buddhist Academy had a transmission of the Great Net of Illusion that wasn't very complete. His Holiness Penor Rinpoche only gave empowerments without explanations. So at that time, Khenpo Namdrol came to the academy to receive various transmissions of the Great Net of Illusion and then returned to teach tantric teachings at Namdroling Buddhist Academy. Moreover, he himself, as I mentioned when teaching in 2011, Khenpo Namdrol has great faith in the Manjushri teachings, the meditation practices we're doing this year, and in Manjushri Dzogchen. Back in 2011, when teaching Manjushri Dzogchen, I remember mentioning this once or twice. This time, His Holiness Penor Rinpoche specifically appointed me to serve His Holiness on this entire trip. Staying in your center, I can see your strong conviction and devotion, as well as your deep interest in the Dharma. Although some of you may have been adept in learning and practicing the Dharma compared to practitioners in traditional Tibetan Buddhist academies, I would say that there is still some room for improvement, because they themselves said that in the earlier teaching on pointing out the nature of mind, many people at their center had very high realization, but the Khenpo pointed out some issues to them, because in that earlier teaching on pointing out the nature of mind, His Holiness also said, basically, you've reached about this level of realization. Traditionally, Tibetan practitioners adhere to the guidelines listed in the sutras and shastras on observing a guru. In the West, however, many people would like to make such a decision merely based on a teacher's words. As a matter of fact, there are all kinds of teachers. If a teacher does not have sufficient knowledge of sutras or tantras, it will be somewhat risky to rely on him or her. Over the years, you have been properly engaging in Dharma study and practice. In the past, you embraced the Nyingma and Kagyu teachings without bias. I hope you will continue as you have always done to practice both Dzogchen and Mahamudra. After Khenpo Namdrol's remark, the Vajradhatu representative also expressed their gratitude to His Holiness. His Holiness, you said that when you received the letter from Vajradhatu, you had great joy in your mind. When we heard your name and saw your picture, we had the same experience. This kind of connection is truly rare. It seems that in Canada they said the same thing, so when they heard His Holiness's name and saw his photograph, they were also filled with joy. That you could come here is such a miracle. Then we began to read about your miraculous activities, and we became excited, maybe in a confused way. It seems the most profound and difficult miracle to achieve is the miracle of being kind to others. If you are going to be the general in Shambhala, under the king who will have been Trungpa Rinpoche, I would like to now volunteer all of us to be your warriors. Thank you again and again. In the end, Lama Mumtso conferred the Manjushri empowerment to everyone. It should be the wisdom warrior Manjushri. With that, the Dharma activities in Boulder were complete. Okay.
Bandara Banma Sadar